Okay, cool. Wait, mic is on, right? Okay. What's up, my little firecrackers? This Blazing Widow's here, blazing his way into another video. This is What If Deku Was in One Piece, Part 2. So yeah, God. I did so much work on this yesterday. Like, you don't even know. I added so many pictures to this album. To the album that I used to record this. Because I like my organization. I have an album in my phone set for every series that I do. I added so many pictures. Well, moving on. Yeah. If you hear music in the background, that's just me listening to music, hoping that it helps. Okay. So, let's just get into the video. So they've set sail, and they're on the ocean for a few days. So during those few days, Izuku and Bakugo are talking to Zoro about how to use armament hockey. And it's obviously not an easy thing to do, especially when they're like not able to demonstrate it since they're on such a small space. But yeah. But they're like telling him like how it works and stuff. Izuku tells them how he's gonna be the next king of the pirates, and how he's going to save everyone that he wants to, and how he doesn't care who gets in his way. If someone gets in his way, he'll kill them without hesitation. And how he expects them to act the same way. If someone is harming an innocent person, they forfeit their right to live. That's how we operate. So you could already see how he's different from Luffy, because Luffy doesn't normally like kill his enemies. He just beats the shit out of them until they're unconscious, and then they usually either go back to Navy headquarters if they're with the Navy, or taken to prison. But for this, he's not afraid to kill him. He's like one less asshole in the world. One less murderer in the world. And you're like, hey, well, if you murder one person, then the amount of murderers stays the same. If you murder a murderer, then the amount of murderers stays the same. He's like, I mean, well, technically true, but if I murder two, then it does go down. Just saying, that kind of a mentality. So, moving on. Jiro says, hey, getting close to the island. And Izuku says, "Cool. I'll see you there." Like, what are you talking about? Izuku jumps off, looks up, and he sees a bird. And he jumps and grabs onto the bird. In case it wasn't obvious, this is what Izuku looks like. Now it's been like a week at sea at this point. So they've gotten to like know each other, and they're all, you know, pseudo friends for now. So yeah. But just from his looks alone, like, who wouldn't blush at his looks alone? I mean, look at that handsome man. I was just saying. So Izuku went and jumped and grabbed onto the bird, and perfect chance to use Conqueror's Spirit Hockey, because he knows that he has it. Like, Shanks explained to him what he did, while they were training, but he also said that he wasn't going to teach him how to do it. He needed to do that himself. Well, but he also knows that, and he's had 7 years to work on it, but he can't really control who he uses it on. Like, who within the radius is affected by it. And he's used it several times in the wild and figured out that he can use it to not only make things that have a weaker will than his fall unconscious, but also scare them to the point where they listen to him, which is what he's trying to do, which luckily for him this time it worked out. It probably won't always work out that way, until he gets proper training. And he forces the bird to fly towards the island, and as the bird does, it does get shot down by the buggy pirates, and Izuku lands in front of Nami, because we all know who it is. If you don't know who this is, then you haven't watched One Piece, and what are you doing here? But no, in all seriousness, Izuku, and Nami tries to do the same thing, like calling Izuku her boss, and then the others, and then the 3 pirates that are chasing her go on to him, and they're about to kill him without hesitation, so he naturally assumes that, they'll just kill anyone as long as it suits them. And they're all about to attack him all at the same time. And Izuku uses Shave. You can see these are just weak-ass pirates, and, these are just the underlings, Well, because in most crews, only the, real higher-ups actually have any sort of strength. So he killed all 3 of them. And their heads are rolling on the floor as he resheaths his sword. As Nami does the same thing that she does in canon, asking him to join her. When they hear a bunch of explosions, continuous explosions. Then they hear one really big explosion, and then they hear these like see a giant freaking ray of light. It's like, I'm going there. I'm going that way. And he's basically gotten Nami's interest at this point. She wants him to join her. But I mean, she's staying in the shadows because reasons. And so, she's going. So, she goes and, yeah. So she's following him, and when they get there, he sees Bakugo just exploding everyone. And he sees, Captain Buggy trying to, fighting Bakugo, fighting, and Bakugo's, struggling a bit, because his pieces are just, kind of just detaching and then reforming, and it's kind of pissing him off that he can't fucking nail this guy down, So, just you having problems there, Bakugo? At this point, the other two have docked. Here, the lion tamer goes and tries to attack Izuku, because he's another person, and Izuku just fills his covers his leg in hockey, so it glows a bright red-orange color before turning to the grayish steel color of hockey as he kicks the shit out of the lion, and the lion goes flying. And the animal tamer's no, Richie, why? How do you kick a lion of his size that far? Jeez. This is so stupid. Excuse me. No one cares about your stupid ads, Spotify. Thank you. I find it so stupid. Don't get me wrong, I love the fact that I could literally just open Spotify and then remove Spotify from my list of apps that I have open, and then just reopen Spotify, and then I skip the ads anyway. It's great. I don't know if you understand what I was trying to convey there, because I said it in a really stupid way. But I just close Spotify and then reopen Spotify, and the ads are gone, and I get to listen to music again instantly. I don't have to listen to your stupid ads, Spotify. But yeah. But, moving on. So, Buggy starts to see, Izuku as the bigger threat. Buggy doesn't know what Izuku's doing with his leg. He thinks he's eating a devil fruit. Izuku takes out his sword and cuts him in half, but realizes that there wasn't, it was way too fluid for him to, go through him, and turns back around and because he didn't feel bone. He didn't feel himself cut through bone at all. So it was way too fluid, so he turns back around and he blocks the next attack, which surprises Buggy. He's how did you... He's I went through you way too easily. Because he had already seen that Buggy was like popping into different pieces, so he assumed that he just did that. And so he encases his blade with hockey. Well, if you think... And Buggy's like, well, doesn't matter, I'll never be beaten by the sword. And Izuku's like, oh, we got a cocky one, and he infuses his blade with hockey. Well, let me show you that isn't true. And he like cuts off Buggy's hand when he's trying to do the next attack, and it actually bleeds because hockey goes through the like defensive capabilities of devil fruits. It doesn't make you stop using your like. You could still use offensive abilities, and the other abilities, but the defensive abilities are canceled out by hockey. At least that's how I look at it. I'm still recording, right? Okay, good. So yeah. I love this song. Yeah. So, and in Buggy's surprise, Izuku just smashes the out of his face. It's causing his body to reattach itself and putting Buggy in the floor unconscious. He points his sword at the rest of Buggy's crew and says, "You should probably leave now." I mean, yeah. But yeah. So, moving on to, he points his sword at the rest of his crew. He's like, I'll let you live this once. But leave the treasure behind. And then I'll let you leave with your captain and your lives. And they're all terrified of him at this point because he was able to actually make their captain bleed with a sword, which he was supposed to be immune to. So they grabbed their captain, got back on their ship, left all their treasure behind. Or, a good chunk of it, not like all of it. Because obviously Buggy had a lot of treasure. And they went off into the horizon. They gathered some supplies and went on there. And after seeing how powerful Izuku was, Naomi started to wonder if maybe he could help her. So she decides to go along with him, not joining the crew, but like an alliance of sorts. So, she's working with them for now. And Izuku leaves some of the treasure behind and to help them rebuild, because he's that kind of person. Naomi's about to getting pissed off, right? So that was 10 million berries worth of stuff that he left behind, and she's about to dunk him under the water, and before Bakugo starts setting off his explosions. And while they were gathering supplies and stuff, Izuku and Bakugo were kind of training Zoro while they still had the chance, while they were on an area where they could. While they still had a chance, they were training Zoro how to use armament hockey. And he can't use it at all yet, but he's starting to understand it. because it's gonna take longer than that for him to understand how to use it. Like, I'll say by, like, because they only had, like, by sunset to get out of there. Because at sunset, the people started coming back. So then, they took off, and, then they found themselves, heading to, Usopp's place, to the island where they find Usopp. And things more or less go to canon. It's just they have, Bakugo and Jiro there. But when they go to, the house of the rich people there, it isn't the same family. It is the Yaoyorozu family. And yes, their parents still died. It's just that now it's, two twin sisters, not identical twin sisters. One looks more like their father with, having the long black hair. It's not tied up in a ponytail. No, it's just flows straight, long, straight black hair. You know what I'm trying to say? But yeah, and then the, person that's actually there in canon. And Yaoyorozu, Momo, I should say, because they're twins. And Momo is a kind and caring person who, like, gives money to the poor, kind of a thing, to help them. So she's the rich girl, but she wants to, like, help people that, can't help themselves. So the only difference is in, the Black Hat person's plan is that, now there's another person. Things go to canon from there. Izuku and, Usopp, find out about the whole plan. It's just that, they actually stay hidden and don't find out. Izuku sees this as the perfect time to test, Usopp, because obviously he knows who Usopp is because Yasop continuously talked about him. So he wants to see if he can do, if he'd be worthy to join his crew. So yeah, that's what he's doing. So yeah. And depending on how far I get in 30 minutes, I might go all the way to Arlong, but I'd be skimming over a lot. If I go to Arlong, I'd probably be skimming over a lot of, Sanji joining the crew. But yeah. But I really do want to get to the end of Arlong. You'll see why when I get there. I'm gonna get to Arlong in this episode. Okay. You'll see why at the end of this. So, things go to canon. No one believes him. Momo doesn't believe him. Momo's sister doesn't believe him. The Yaoyorozu twins don't believe him. Things go to canon from there. Momo and her sister find out that, Klahadore was actually the bad guy, and how Usopp was just trying to help them. Usopp goes to Izuku. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Just trying to help them. So Usopp goes to them and tells them about it, their crew. Well, Bakugo just wants a fight to test his strength against other pirates. But the others want to help because they can see that even though, like, he's afraid, he deeply cares for the people. And, Bakugo kind of sees this too. But he more just wants a fight. So they all see how he's scared out of his mind, and how much he doesn't want to have to do this, but he cares about the people that live here too much to, let them die. So he's gonna put himself on the line to save them, and that's what their crew is all about. It's about saving people. They may not be a part of the law, but their crew is about saving people. Well, and so they all see that, and they instantly know that Luffy is what Luffy's trying to do. So easily Usopp has just passed his test. But now he needs to see if he's going to be one of the best of the best. He needs to find out if Usopp will be one of the best of the best. Yes, worthy of joining his crew, basically. So what he does instead is, they go to the same place that they did in canon, and Jiro says they're actually at a hill further down that way, points in that direction, and they're about to start setting up the traps. They're like, okay, we go there then. And so they go to the other slope instead, because Jiro has informed them that that's not where they're going to be landing, and they set up all the traps. They said, Usopp, it's going to be your job to, and he halts, and the battle's about to start, and he's going to, and his crew's going to, fight, and Izuku holds up his hand. He says, no. He points to Usopp. You're up. He's like, what, me? What do you mean? I mean, it's your turn that you're fighting by yourself. He points to the giant oil slick. He says, your job is to make sure that they don't get past that oil slick. Take them down while they're stumbling. And then we're good. The rest of us won't have to fight. And you have the right to say that you've actually done something yourself, and it won't be a lie. At this, Usopp steals himself as much as he can, still being Usopp. No hate against Usopp, I like Usopp, but still, just saying. Yeah, so, and he's taking people out. The only two people that get past it is the, Meowbrand brothers, or whatever they're called, the two cat brothers. The burglar one, starts attacking Izuku, and Izuku's, parrying them, and parrying his claw attacks, and cat burglar one steals his gun. He says, did you just take my gun? And this is a memento from all of his what was basically his family, Shanks' crew were basically his family. It's so it's in remembrance of them. And Bakugo's oh, these people screwed up. That bitch screwed up. He's maybe you should keep better track of your things. And Izuku's eyes almost go red at this point. He instantly uses shave and cuts off the man's hands, and grabs the pistol, and aims it to his head. He says, maybe you shouldn't put your hands on other people's shit. As he then points the gun towards his arm, fires off a bullet in his other arm, fires off a bullet in both of his knees. As he falls to the ground. Obviously, they're using shave to make it extremely quick. And as he falls to the ground, now unable to move and slowly bleeding to death, Izuku stabs his sword into the man's guts and twists it. It's like, I was gonna kill you. I was gonna give you a quick death, but now you pissed me off. Pulls his sword out and just lets him slowly bleed while the other guy comes at him. And Izuku's still pissed off, just cuts off the man's head. Because he's more powerful than in the original canon, so the only person he's gonna actually, have trouble with is the person who, actually has speed, Klahadore. The Yaoyorozu twins are now, coming this way. He looks at Bakugo and Zoro and is just puts his head towards the others. And while all the ones that Usopp had taken down, they're still alive. So he's like, I've changed my mind. Don't let them live. And Bakugo and Zoro just, go down there and start, slaughtering, their captain's orders. Captain's orders, they're gonna die. There are a lot of them, so it's gonna take them a little bit. Bakugo is taking out many, many, many at once. So yeah. This is when Klahadore shows up and sees, a lot of them being dead. The hypnotist would have made the others stronger, making the fight a bit harder for Bakugo and Zoro, but they would have still been holding their own as they are stronger than they are in the original canon. When Klahadore shows up, he starts fighting with Izuku. They're both going at extreme speeds. Izuku's blocking all of Klahadore's attacks. He still breaks off Klahadore's claws on one hand, so now he only has to worry about one hand being, parrying one hand. And he was cut up a few times. Now, when Klahadore does the, faster movements, Izuku just uses Razor to, the more advanced version of Shape, which he has learned how to use by now. To help combat the heightened speed. So there's, no matter how fast Klahadore is doing, Izuku's able to match that speed in tandem. And the fight continues on like this until the Yaoyorozu twins get there. And Izuku says he's had enough, and he slams Klahadore into the ground, and takes the sword and puts it up to his neck, and he says, I will not tolerate those who would even so much as harm an innocent person for their own ideals. So you will face my justice, as he stabs him in the neck, killing him. Yaoyorozu, or Momo, to be specific, was felt a touch with his words, not so much the fact that he killed the man, but she also knows that if he had continued to live, then he probably would have killed even more people. So it was probably for the best that they, killed him. So yeah. I'm gonna skip over details here because I feel like it's just not that important. Just know by the end of the day, they convince both, by the end of the day, the entire pirate crew is completely dead, including the hypnotist. And Usopp joins the crew, as well as Momo ends up joining the crew. They convince Momo to also join the crew as a pseudo doctor because she knows like basic in like bandaging and cleaning wounds. She's not like Chopper level, but she's also good at creating things. So she kind of helps Usopp a bit, but she more works as the ship's doctor. And the Going Merry is 2.5 times the size of the original Going Merry, because there's a lot more people going to be on the crew by the time the Merry meets its unfortunate demise. So yeah. Anyway, so what's going on is we move on to the next island. Or, well, technically they're going to the Baratie. So now their crew has been gathered from the island. They set sail. They've gotten everything they need. Momo says her goodbyes to her sister, and they set off. Usopp's invitation to the crew is still the same. It's just they had to do a bit of convincing with Momo. And, yeah. Moving on to the, next one. So they end up, now they actually have some place to train. So by the time they get to the Baratie, which takes about a week or two, a week and a half, I'll say, unless it took longer in the canon, in which case it would be whatever was in the canon, to increase the time. Because One Piece is a fairly large world. But yeah. So, Izuku, starts creates his own little garden area, and starts growing, all different types of, fruit trees, and Bakugo kind of, makes fun of him, what the hell are you doing that for? Izuku says, 1, food, 2, vitamin C so no one gets any scurvy, because, he's, growing oranges and shit. We gotta make sure we're getting all the essential vitamins. I think scurvy is the lack of vitamin C. Unless it's vitamin D? Whatever. But he's growing all different types of fruit trees to, make sure that they have a constant supply of certain vitamins, so that no one gets sick. Yeah. So things continue like that until they get to the Baratie, in which things go to canon, but instead of Izuku fighting, what's his face? The not so memorable guy. Not so memorable captain. That was fucked up. Bakugo's the one that ends up fighting him. He doesn't have a chance to fire off the gas attack, as Bakugo blows up his shoulder where the gas was, causing it to explode, effectively killing him without Bakugo even meaning to kill him. The explosion was just that big. And as Izuku is fighting with the guy that has the weird balls on the ends of this weird sticks, those like weird police batons, but they have giant balls at the end. Izuku has his blade enhanced with hockey and is using his gun at the same time, so while he's being forced to look away, he fires it off, hitting one of them in the arms, hitting one of the man's arms, making him unable to use that side. And with the other one, he just cuts off his other arm, and kicks him into the ocean. That man's gonna drown. Izuku then sees Bakugo fall into the ocean after his fight with the captain. He puts the sword and gun away and jumps into the ocean after him. And he picks up Bakugo and brings him back. I'm not going to be doing any retelling of things that aren't, different. So if I don't mention something, it's probably because it stayed the same. That, or I just, forgot about it. I'm sure someone will remind me if I forgot about something. But, like Sanji's backstory, that's the same. So, like, I'm not going to mention that. The whole feeding the person thing, that was the same. And all that. And, and by the end of the day, Sanji ends up joining the crew. And, so they head out, and they find out that that Nami took the ship, and that they have to take the dinghies again. Like, jeez, how many times is this gonna happen? So they end up, following her back, and we fast forward to the point in which they fight the rest of, the Arlong pirates. It's all the other ones are dead because Zoro and Bakugo killed them. Because Bakugo would be with Zoro in this, when he was doing it. And so Arlong's, like, pissed. And I believe Arlong's bounty is like 25,000, but I already told you Izuku's much stronger than that. So Arlong's fighting Izuku. And Izuku's just like parrying all of his attacks with his nose. And covering his entire body and sword with armament hockey. Because of, him using his shark teeth, which for the first couple of times just start, like, snapping, just being obliterated by his armament hockey. The same thing happens, he gets punched, I speak English, punched into the place where Nami was, and he puts some of the gunpowder that he has onto, some of the papers. And this room is, like, covered in papers, plus it's made out of wood. Then he fires off a bullet at the gunpowder, which then causes it to explode, lighting the place on fire, before kicking Arlong, out, and he walks out while the flames just flick around him, jumping down and smashing Arlong with his foot as he comes down. Like I said, I'm skimming over a lot of this. And for good reason. And yeah. So because Izuku never got thrown into the ocean in this because he didn't do the same. He didn't eat the gum gum fruit, so he wouldn't have tried the same move. So the only one that survives is the octopus, and he was thought to be dead, but he didn't actually die. He barely survived for plot reasons in the future. So Izuku killed Arlong, and I think something should be mentioned. When Izuku found himself in Nami's hometown, and he saw the Marines, rampaging, he killed them all except for the captain, and so the captain ended up reporting the whole thing and how he beat Arlong really easily. And so Izuku would still have his bounty of but Izuku's bounty would be higher than Luffy's was at the start because he defeated Arlong much easier, and so his bounty is going to be about 50,000 to start off with. That's what his bounty is going to be at. Is it an accurate estimation of his power? Not really. But Izuku wasn't going all out. Bakugo and Zoro, no one saw what they did, so they don't have bounties yet. Kyoko was just with Nami the entire time, talking to her about what her past and shit. The fact that so Nami is still thankful to Izuku because of he helped, he saved her and everyone else on her island. He helped save her life, as well as her little sister, which she does have a little sister in this, not just an older one, and she's she's only younger by a little bit, but this little sister would be Ochako, Uraraka. Now, by this point, Kyoka is already into Izuku, not only because he's powerful, but because he actually cares about the people in his crew. She knows that he felt Nami was in the crew even without it, and that's the only reason he actually came to help, because he actually cares about the people in his crew. And that's the reason she kind of falls for him. Nami can't help, in the future Nami won't be able to help falling for his stupid acts to save people, him being stupid trying to save people instead of putting he puts his life above others, or beneath others. He puts other lives above his own, is what I'm trying to say. So he goes in, and as long as it's to save somebody, he goes in head first without thinking about it. And she can't help but fall for that idiotic nature of his. But that won't be until part way through the first half of the Grand Line. So Ochako says that she wants to come and help him because one, he's hot, and two, he's perfect boyfriend material. He'll protect you. They were strangers and they protected them, so if you're that kind of thing. She feels safe with him around. She just gets that feeling of safety when he's around, and she doesn't want to lose that. And so she asks if she can come with him. Nami's no. He's wait, Nami, don't worry, I can clear this up. He said, we're gonna be here for 2 more days before we leave. Because the Navy's not gonna come here yet, because they still have to, the captain still has to get all the way there and back, which is probably going to take more than 2 days, is because he destroyed their transponder snails, so he has to get back to a base in order to get another transponder snail. So Izuku, so they've got time. So he says, we're going to stay here for 2 days. These, get supplies and stuff like that. So if you can find a strange fruit that has this weird swirling pattern on it, and give it to me, by the time we leave in 2 days, I'll let you come with. She says, okay, got it. It's like, okay. And she instantly goes and starts trying to find it. Keep in mind that she's the same age as Nami, so she's like 17. The only people that will have an age difference are the girls that I add that are older. So like, if I add Mirko and I add Ryukyu, both of them will be aged down to 20 years old. So the age difference won't be that large. It will only be 3 years. I don't know how old Robin is, and I personally don't care. But no, in all seriousness, so time skip to like 2 hours before their leave. And well, you guessed it, Ochako comes back with a devil fruit. Don't mind all of these ones that I have here. This would be Bakugo's, because the person who has it in the canon isn't that important and I don't care. But this would be Izuku's devil fruit. This would be the one that he finds. It still has the same weird shape, but it's like covered in like this weird fur. And so Izuku takes it from her, and Nami's like, I told you that was... And like everyone's surprised that she actually found one. Izuku says, kind of laughs a bit. He's like, I gotta be honest, I didn't think you'd find one. And he like inspects it to make sure it's real, and it is real, because like no other fruit is gonna have fur on it like this one does. Says, I gotta be honest, I didn't think you'd actually find one. But I'm a man of my word, and a deal's a deal. You can come. So the money so like all the treasure that Nami went so far, she left half of it to, the village, so that they could like rebuild their own society, and then took the other half and went with Luffy. This devil fruit, Izuku cuts it open, and he's like, it can only make me more powerful, plus there are other really strong swimmers like Zoro and Sanji. Because he's like, I can't let myself, be beaten by Bakugo just because Bakugo has a devil fruit. And he's kind of curious to what it is. So he goes and he cuts it up and he eats the inside. Obviously he's not going to eat the weird fur shit. He doesn't have to. So he eats the inside of the fruit, which still has the weird swirling marks. And he eats it. And his body starts to transform, and and as he's like cutting it open, everybody backs the fuck up. Now, what is this? This is a fan-made devil fruit. I made some modifications to it. Because his blood, it said that originally it's supposed to make your bloodlust get stronger and stronger over time to the point where you can never be able to control it. I do it the opposite way, where you'll be slowly be able to control the bloodlust. Just when you're in these transformations. Now, how it works is this is the Inu no Mi model Fenrir. Meaning it's the dog fruit model Fenrir. For those of you who don't know what Fenrir is the wolf that devours the gods. It's in Norse mythology. At least I think that's what they call him. But he's like one of the like strongest beings, like stronger than most of the gods in Norse mythology. Moving on. So what happens is Izuku eats this devil fruit, and they all witness how he starts to change as a result of eating this, and he turns into his hybrid form, not his full form. And this is basically his hybrid form. Now, in this form, he has super strength as well as super speed. His fur is completely white. So yeah, that's a thing. It's completely white. And yeah. He'd still be wearing the clothes that he normally is. So what Luffy is wearing in the canon is what he would still be wearing in this form. So yeah. But he has super strength and super speed, so he doesn't even need to... And when he uses shave or razor, he's even faster. And when he uses armament haki, even stronger. You know how it is. But right now, he can't control it. Control this form... Even this form, he can't control. And the bloodlust in his full form is even worse. And he just feels this intense... murderous rage taking over as he transforms into his full form. And right here, he's about 4 times the size of the boat in this form. Like, if you were to take the boat out of the water, he'd be about 4 times bigger. If you're not counting the open spaces, he's like 4 times the size of the boat. But yeah, so he feels this like intense murderous rage. Like you can see it in his eyes. His eyes are a piercing emerald in this form. They're not the red color that you see there. They're a piercing emerald color. So if you can imagine that, good for you. The same in the Wolven form. His irises are still the emerald. The hybrid form, they're still the emerald color. Before he, as this is his first time, he kind of just faints at the amount of power that just starts surging through him, so that he doesn't accidentally kill someone. And falls back into his human form. And everyone's like, oh shit. Like, he was powerful before. Like, what is he gonna be like? Because, like, he had an intimidating aura. Like, it would be equivalent to someone using Conqueror's Haki. So, like... What's he gonna be like when he uses his power in that form? Like, he's gonna be like super powerful, which is why he's not going to be able to actually control it until like the second half of the Grand Line. But yeah. So. Well, there's his devil fruit, guys. Have fun. So yeah. Izuku and his crew. So Izuku's crew and Ochako, now having technically officially joined the crew, will drag Izuku back onto the ship. As they make their way to the next island and on to the next adventure, and to be continued. I'm gonna go and catch up on what happens after Arlong Park, but before then, this has been Blazing What Ifs, blazing away.